hundreds of little companies, small companies making money and creating jobs. Let me give you an example. If you have a reuse and repair center, first of all you have the jobs of people who are selling things back to the public and making money, so there's money to pay for those jobs. Secondly, you can take people off the street and train them for future jobs. You can train them to repair large appliances, small appliances, electrical goods, electronic goods. That's doing right now in Burlington, Vermont, very successfully. Then you can link reuse and repair to deconstruction, where you take down old buildings in the reverse order they went up, save the materials, more jobs. Then you can take those materials, some of those materials, and make things from them. Like they're in Vermont, they're making the wood from old barns and churches and everything else, making into beautiful furniture, more jobs. Then you have to have people to sell that, more jobs. So there's jobs and jobs and jobs, all starting from reusing objects which would otherwise be tossed in an incinerator or into a landfill. We need creativity. That's why we need young people. We need young minds, creative minds, to look at this. Not to give in, not to give up and say there's nothing we can do. It's useless, these people are in charge, nothing we can do. No, we don't want them to give up. We want them to use creativity to overcome the odds we're up against right now.
I would like you to give a little more information on San Francisco.
Yep.
Because everybody thinks this would take forever to put in place. Plus, I haven't seen federal funds available for recycling, which is supposed to be the public policy of the United States. They don't put in the money that they're putting for renewable energy.
Yeah.
But San Francisco has.
Let me give you a little bit more than that. Let me give you more of the history of zero waste. But starting in California back in the maybe early 1990s, California state passed a law which said every community in California had to reach 50% diversion from landfills and incinerators by the year 2000. 50%. Well, by 1996, they were up to over 300 communities had already reached that 50% goal. And what people found that when they reached that 50% goal, they were saving money because they weren't sending it all to a landfill, shipping it over 100 miles. So they're saving money on transport, saving money on tipping fee, and they were creating jobs. Saving money, creating jobs. Oh, why stop at 50%? Why don't we go for 60%? Why don't we go for 70%? People liked it. And the next thing that happened is that Dan Knapp, who runs Urban Ore in Berkeley, he went to Canberra, Australia. And he found out that in Canberra, Australia, they were about to pass a law, the government was going to pass a law which said no waste by 2010. And this was a law negotiated with the citizen activists. The government said to the activists, they said, well, how much waste should we be sending to the landfill in the future? And the citizens said, 0. And Dan Knapp was very excited to hear this because he'd been talking about 100% recycling for a long time, but no one would take him seriously. But now, with the government passing a law which has said 0 waste, so he came back to California bubbling in 1996, or 95, 96. And of course, people were ready for it. They were saying, why not 60? Why not 70? Why not 100? Why not 0 waste? So that's how it took over in California. It was a combination of different countries, it was a combination of a state law, and it was a combination of economics. So basically what they found is you don't need these subsidies. What we are saying is cheaper than expensive landfills. Now if you have cheap landfills, then that's artificially, you don't see the economic advantage of recycling and composting. But once you make disposal expensive, which you will with landfills, and you certainly will with incinerators, then recycling, composting, reuse, all of these things become competitive. But meanwhile, reuse and repair is a money maker. You do not need, what you can get, this is where the state subsidies come in, I think, to establish a group. You say to a group, you are very interested in doing this. We are interested in having your energy and your manpower. We will give you this building. We'll rent this building to you free for a year to establish your operation. And when you're established, you can stand on your own 2 feet. Well, they will make money. You make money in every country I've been to with reuse and repair.
We have a lot of empty industrial buildings
There
that
we
are
go.
rented for $1
Perfect.
a year.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
There we
but
go.
what about the social benefits of recycling and composting that you mentioned a bit at the conference? How it was changing the way people related to it?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that we have, which is actually inducive for overconsumption, is the anonymity of living in big cities. If you live in a big city, then you have an apartment. And to keep in that apartment, you watch television. And every 7 minutes on that television, they're telling you what to buy. So when you leave your apartment, you go to buy something. So what we need is to get people out of their apartments, not to go to the shopping mall, but to do other things, to meet people. Now, this was brought home to me in a very silly little way in Zurich, Switzerland, where they have in Zurich, Switzerland, or they did in 1991 when I was last there, no, 2000. They had 1,000 community compost piles in Zurich. It's a big city. And these compost piles are run anything from 3 families to 100 families, sharing responsibility for looking after a very simple, low-tech composting system, somewhere between their high-rise buildings. And they're looking after 50% of the organics of this big city. It's incredible. And I asked the organizer, I said, what's the best thing that's come out of this program? He thought for a bit. He says, I think it's the social ramifications. He says it helps to fight the anonymity of living in a big city when people meet and organize around a compost pile. And I thought, wow. If you can do that with a compost pile, think how much more you could do with the reuse and repair center. And whilst we're at it, why don't we be a little bit more ambitious? Why don't we think of these reuse and repair centers becoming community centers, where you deliberately bring people together for social activities, and you can bring them together for educational purposes, tell them what the program is, the municipality can put money into it because this is the best way to educate people via the activists. You can teach people how to compost in their backyard, you can teach them how to build the
container
composting kits, you can all kinds of things. You could have a community workshop, you could have a bicycle club for the kids, they can learn how to make bicycles and then use them afterwards. So you can see how we can use this, again, the lowly world of trash to get us off overconsumption. Overconsumption is a life built around objects. What we want is a life built around other people, relationships, human relationships. We need to recreate the village in the big city so that people are less anonymous, less need to buy things, more time to enjoy other people. And I don't think I have to tell people in Puerto Rico how to enjoy themselves. I'm sure they can do it very, very well. But we can do it at the same time as solving this waste crisis.
Well, Dr. Connett, I'm so grateful for you giving me all this time. I think that what you said to wrap up is the best thing we can finish this interview with. And hopefully you'll be back soon. I know that there are a lot of people trying to get things done. I wish we had time to get you over to the governor's house and have him have a talk with you, because he's a young man, he has children, and he comes from the south of the island where he has a beautiful nature setting there. I don't think he would like to have the incinerator put in his town. But I really think that in this time of humanity, we do need more of what you just said, and it's also a positive issue. So I'm really grateful, and I'm going to be putting this up on the internet so people can really listen to it, and minds can evolve in creating in their own communities situations.
Well, this is wonderful. Thank you for the interview. I'd like to end the way I ended yesterday. If you look at this whole zero waste strategy, it's better for the local economy, more jobs, more small business opportunity. It's better for the health of the people, less toxics, less landfills, less ash landfill. It's better for our universities because we need to use those professors and students in their research so that it'll give them more meaning, more relevance. It's better for the planet as a whole because it's more sustainable. And again, it's better for our children because it offers them more hope for the future. And remember, when we talk about zero waste, we're not just talking about saving materials, we're talking about saving people, really. There are millions of people that are getting a livelihood out of waste. And those livelihoods are wasted if you burn all the materials. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor.